Welcome to my Virgo channel. For those of you that are new, my name is Laura, and I'm going to do a general message for Virgo. Though know that energy is fluid, so roles could be reversed, flip it, switch it, twist it, interpret the message as it best resonates for you. Always take what you need and disregard the rest. Okay, if you're new to the channel, anything that of any relevance about what goes on the channel you can find in the description box below. All right, so um, just always like to put that out there. I always like to look at the spiritual energies first within your situation. So this message is going to be spiritual messages about your connection, about yourself and about your connection. So first, I always like to look at the spiritual energies within inside you, because that's really going to determine how things play out also within your relationship, obviously. All right. Okay, empathy. So you're a highly sensitive person. You're someone that really, I feel like you're have a very strong spiritual connection with someone. And I believe that you are a spiritual person on top of it. Again, compassion. So this tells me, again, because of our sensitivity, right? When we're sensitive, a lot of times we have compassion for people that really don't deserve for us to have compassion. And I feel like you are in a connection with someone that, again, there's a very strong spiritual connection. But they're making you like bring out the softer side in you, because again, there's a very strong connection. Again, light. So again, that this tells me again that you have a spiritual connection with someone, and when a spiritual connection of love and light, right? That's the purest. So again, spiritual connections are, come into our life to teach us, to expand the soul, to make us be different. And I also feel like your person that's connected to you feels this connection very strongly as well. Again, and the reason for this relationship is to clear family karma. See, a lot of times people don't realize that their soulmate twin flame relationships are all about making us into the best version of ourselves. They're divine unions, and they're divine unions that help us become the best version of ourselves. But in order to do so, it's going to trigger our family karma. When we're born into families that teach us, and they teach us through the way that they were treated. They teach us through their perceptions of us. And so remember, whether or not it's your belief from childhood or whether it's been your belief all along, it's still, you form behaviorisms that are in alignment with those beliefs. So when we have family karma, again, we have to say what was going on in our family's life during the time also. So, and I believe that you're someone that's very sensitive and you have a lot of compassion, but I don't believe that the person that you're connected to is used to being able to express their feelings, their emotions. Again, but this again is a very strong spiritual connection. And again, the spiritual connection is to help you clear the family karma. So we know that it has to be like a soulmate twin flame relationship. And one which would teach you how to have compassion, not just for the person that you're dealing with, which I feel like you do, but I feel like you're a mirror of like this spiritual connection, and maybe not so much in the behaviorisms that are channeled out, but the same wounding where you felt inferior, you felt um, like there was a lot of family karma. So maybe again, there was addictions or abandonment, or the same karmic themes of abandonment and betrayal. And that would happen from our parents when they get caught up in their relationships, that they're so busy trying to fix their relationship that they didn't give the child what they needed growing up. So there was a lack of support, which made person not really be able to find who they are because they were continually trying to figure out how to survive instead. So again, and why I say that, because the family is connected to the root chakra, that first chakra that's developed. And what that first chakra also is about our survival and our support. So on a core level, that these spiritual issues are the same. You're mirroring, but like I said, you may not channel them out the same way. And I feel like because you're a highly sensitive, and though your person's a highly sensitive, you will express it through being softer and being able to, be able to express yourself comfortably, your emotions, where your person doesn't. Again, shadow dislocation. So this again, the shadow parts of ourselves that we've dislocated from are the parts of ourselves that we detach from, which goes more into saying that's why this relationship is a divine union. It's a divine union because there is a spiritual, not just a spiritual connection that could be felt through empathy and sensitivity, but it's also again about the spiritual lessons that are at hand. And the spiritual lessons that are at hand are, you both are clearing family karma. You're both again learning how to integrate the shadow parts of self, and that would be through this spiritual union that's all about love and light and healing, and really with having compassion, which means that there was addictions, there was a lot of root chakra imbalances that you both grew up with, Virgo, that you yourself might have grown up in an alcoholic family, I feel like. And a lot of you grew up with one parent that worked a lot, I'm feeling. So being that this is a general message, every single person grew up with something in that was a little imbalanced in their family. But what I'm talking about is the real, when you watch your parent struggle, and you watch your parents struggle, both parties watch their parents struggle in a relationship where the relationships were not equal. And so when you're so caught up in trying to be in the relationship, you can't be as much there for your children. And when you're not as much there for your children have to figure things out on their own. And that's, they become more, live more from a survival perspective because they're more worried about their basic needs instead of trying to find themselves. So this is what's at hand. And that's why, again, compassion needs to be, because compassion is, a lot of times it's like, yeah, that was a very imbalanced situation, but we have to look at the situation through almost like having mercy on a person, and finding the compassion. So that's both you and your person's spiritual walk that is mirroring each other, which is the whole point of your relationship with your person, is what I'm trying to get at. So that's the underlying energy of your situation. I know that was a lot to get out. It took a whole 10 minutes to almost get out. But it's an important element, because especially if this person is triggering the shit out of you. And it's because understand there's wounds, that deep wounds from childhood that need to be integrated. All right. Now let's look at the situation. But I'm making a mess. The cards like all over the place. All right. I mean, the deck just keeps getting bigger and bigger because I keep adding to it. All right. I don't understand what this connection is. So I feel like, again, this is a spiritual connection, but it's one that's very confusing for the person that you are connected to because they are not a spiritual person. So they don't understand that there's a whole big, deeper meaning to our relationships, that our relationships the people that come into our lives to grow the soul, to teach us about ourselves. And so, and this relationship is triggering where your person has deep feelings and feels the connection, but it's also triggering because it's bringing up family shit, and one that's making the person, again, we have to find compassion because a lot of times the situation doesn't make sense, and it doesn't not just make sense. It has caused shadow parts of ourselves pieces of ourselves that we don't like, that we've detached from ourselves, that the relationship, again, because there's such a spiritual connection and that could be felt, and it's again, as one that's of divine union, is there to be brought in to look at the relationship, to look at ourself. Again, so this is a very important relationship is what I'm getting at, because it's one that will help you transform yourself, though, however, it's triggering the shit out of your person because they're like, I don't understand what the fuck this is. It's like I have 1,000 different feelings about this relationship. I love you. I hate you. I'm upset by you. And that's what spiritual wounds do. They make us, we have a lot of different feelings a lot of times about people that have wounded us, right? In our families or in people, past relationships, or people that really in our mind shouldn't have hurt us, but they did, and now we're stuck in that frame of thought of it, like where it's almost like a mind fuck. It's like, yeah, I have such strong feelings for you. I care about you, but I hate you. And you bring up all these different feelings and emotions, and really what for? Well, it's to clear our deepest wounds, our family wounds. Those are the hardest, when we have issues with mother and father, is what I'm feeling. So for you, Virgo, you may have a block with your mom where your person has a block with their dad. So in it, you both are mirroring each other through your behaviorisms on how you're dealing with the relationship, which is avoidance, is what I'm feeling. Okay, avoiding. That's what I felt. See, and I knew it. It's like, I don't know how to deal with this relationship, so I'm going to avoid it. I love when that happens. I love it because it's like, it's just confirmation. This is the end. I feel like so many times you're like, this is the end. I can't take it anymore. This is the end. I'm tired of it. I don't want to deal with this. And that's understand when we're in a karmic connection where it's bringing up a lot of family, stuff, a lot of wounds, of childhood wounds, and a lot of different emotions. Like, you will want to end it. The one came flying out. It's time for me to heal now. Again, yeah, because that's what it'll bring you to, because it's almost like, as I said, you'll feel as if this is over. I want it to end. I don't want it. I want to avoid this. I don't know how to deal with it. It brings up so many different emotions. But on the same token, it's like the whole time it's time to heal. That's what this relationship is. It's again clearing family karma, like needing to heal these deep seated wounds. And no one volunteers. It is very confusing. And I feel like, again, this is very confusing for your person because they're not a very spiritual person. They're more of a logical person. They're more of a business person. They tend to deal with life from a very logical, linear standpoint. So they don't really understand what this is. And they're not, which means that they're not really also good with emotions. Unhealed wounds are blocking forward movement, right? So this is all through this. It's like there's this relationship on how you both are dealing with each other is very similar to like how it played out in family dynamics, which is avoidance. And avoiding could also just be like refusing to look at the problems, pretending that there's nothing wrong, acting like it doesn't bother you, because really it's confusing. And I feel like for your person is very confusing, and I feel like for you, you're like, I don't want to deal with this. But it's still avoiding because down deep inside, you still have feelings for the person, whether or not you want it to be over or whether or not you're hiding. But the reason why is because it's playing out. It's playing out like this situation is playing out almost like through a situation like you grew up in, a dynamic. Miracles happen, meaning again, like you can heal in this situation. Love is healing. When we have like spiritual connections that we know are very deep, but they are magical. It's because we're able to look at the same painful situation differently because of the soulmate twin flame, because of this relationship. No one volunteers to look at these wounds. No one volunteers to say, hey, yeah, that's it. I want to go back and I want to experience all my family shit that I haven't healed, that I've detached from, that I can't really make sense out of, that I have shadow parts of myself that I've detached from, that because of the pain, again, but it's all about, again, that being sensitive towards it, being able to have compassion for yourself. And if this person is a soulmate twin flame, right? And they are mirroring the same stuff that you have and you love them, so it should be able to teach you how to look at your stuff the same way, right? Because we can't go back in time to change the situation, but you can change how you perceive your situation. And that's really what healing is all about. But we wouldn't know how to do that. No one volunteers to do that. This spiritual connection is a divine union that's bringing you together so that you can go back and look at your family karma. And the family karma, which plays out within your wounding. And your wounding is from all parts of yourself that you've rejected, all those parts of yourself that you've detached from. Until you integrate the spiritual lesson, you won't see wholeness. The only way to see the spiritual lesson is to see it different. And this spiritual connection of this soulmate is what this connection is really for. That's what I'm seeing, because I'm not seeing like horrible things. What I'm seeing is it's very confusing, because your person feels so many different emotions, and they don't really understand why. It's again, and then at the same time bringing up feelings of rejection, right? Because if they're also not used of dealing with things from an emotional standpoint, and now they again it's bringing up all these emotions, and they're not good with their emotions, they're going to feel vulnerable. And when we are afraid, and when we again feel vulnerable and afraid, what happens is that we feel those ways because again we're afraid of rejection, we're afraid of abandonment, which again goes back to what you're clearing family karma. And the family karma that was created was like rejection, not feeling like you could be yourself, not being able to find yourself, living more from a survival mode. So again, if we're living more from a survival mode, then we've definitely experienced rejection too, because not everyone wanted to take care of our needs growing up. And that's why, again, it goes back to finding the compassion for your family, the compassion for yourself, for the way that you had to live in order to heal that wound. It's a deep wound. That's why you're getting a soulmate, in order to show you it within yourself, because you've detached from it and not volunteered to look at it, but it obviously needs to be healed. Again, because again, what happens is that you feel like you're flawed because of this wounding, when really it's like you're not flawed. It's the situation that you grew up in was flawed, and that was because of how your parents' wounding was. Again, they were wrapped up in their relationships or their issues, their problems. They couldn't give support. And so, again, when a person has to find themselves and they're coming from a survival state instead of the creative mind, then there's always that negative energy that we can feel, and that negative energy plays out as, again, it's generated because we don't feel that we're good enough, because we didn't get the nurturing, the support. And we also inherited karma where maybe you, again, if your parent was struggling in their relationship, then on some level your parent didn't feel like they were good enough. So you watching that, inheriting that karma, you both are mirroring it, is what I'm trying to get at. Yes. Clear your energy. So we clear our energy and know your worth. This goes back again with you're good enough. So that there's a sense that this is, again, a spiritual message clearly on why this relationship has come to pass. Now, let's see because it didn't tell me what was going on with the relationship. So let's look at some hidden truths, because it's like, this pretty much says that you're in connection with somebody, and it's all, again, the connection was to teach you both about each other, meaning teach you about yourself, Virgo, and them about themselves, whoever that person is that you're connected to, because you're mirroring each other, and you're mirroring each other because of the family karma, that this relationship was mainly brought into union to teach for soul evolution. But let's see on the physical level what your person is thinking. What is the hidden truth? What are they thinking? I don't react when people mention you. So there's a sense of, again, still avoiding, not knowing how to deal with it. So that over time, I just want you to know, it's going to feel like a brick on that person. Because if there's a real spiritual connection, because the avoidance really won't get you. I feel you leaving me behind. And so again, because this person doesn't want to open up their heart. They don't want to seem vulnerable. They don't know how to deal with this relationship. They would rather deal with their relationship on a superficial level, which again, what you look like, maybe again, pay attention a lot to the physical aspect of the relationship, but not the emotional again. And really, the emotional part is how you build up intimacy, and intimacy is trust. So your person has a lot of bad memories from experiences that they've gone through with past partners that didn't play out well, but they didn't play out well because they've never healed. They've never integrated. And I feel for you, again, you leaving this person behind, you're pretty much saying that you're worth it. I feel you even though we are apart. So again, this is a spiritual connection again, which I knew that because again, the this the empathy. So it's again, your person refuses to like look at the family karma. They don't want to do that. They're still playing out, you know, their situation through this, and I feel like because they're not being vulnerable, they're not expressing themselves, they're not really um like working through their own triggers, first of all. Again, when someone's in your life that you love and they trigger you, well, you have to look at why they're triggering you. They don't want to look at that. They would rather avoid it. They would rather deal with everything very logically, very superficial. Again, paying more attention about the physical and having physical relationship where this is not a physical relationship. This is a spiritual one, and so they don't know how to deal with it. So again, they don't react, they hide their feelings, which is most likely why you're leaving them behind. Because you're like, well, you're not, like, this relationship is so surface for you, Virgo. I wonder if you are happy without me. So it's again, yeah, because your person knows they have to come forward. They would have to come clean in order to do this. I'm so tired of these stories of where people have feelings and it's like almost like too deep. It brings up too much for them. So they in being in the relationship, they would have to actually take responsibility for who they are and change. I've never met someone like you. You're special. Please have patience with me because I'm still learning. So I feel like your person still they have feelings for you, but it's again, and they do feel like you moving like away from them because you're clearly not getting what you need emotionally from them. And I feel like again, they want to. I never find the right words to say to you. I push you away instead of bringing you closer to me. So again, that was again talking about how they're not good emotionally, which is why they're not good with their emotions, but they feel this emotional connection, which is why they never felt anybody like you before. Because again, it's a spiritual connection. They're just not good with their feelings and the emotions. And so, in the fact that they avoid, they never really look to change themselves. So, again, like I'm feeling, they have so many different emotions when it comes to this relationship. It was like a dream come true when we met. I never wanted that passion to end. You rock my world. So again, a very strong spiritual connection that is full of passion. Otherwise, your person probably would have never stuck around to begin with, right? Because they're not an emotional person. They're not a spiritual person. They wouldn't volunteer to get into this relationship. They don't want to really do that, but they did it because again there's this chemistry that spiritual connections have. They are attracted to you. Obviously they wouldn't have stayed, but it brought up so much more to them, and really on a subconscious level they realize it's to clear family karma because it's making them look at a lot of different elements of the way that they grew up and really needing to like heal their own shadow. Again, the parts of themselves that they detach from. And this spiritual connection is all about, being able to feel and really be able to look at what, the shadow parts of ourselves and really integrate them by learning. And we integrate it into light. Really, that's how miracles can happen. They happen from, being able to look at our situation differently. I want to pull a few more. I'm almost like, well, is that it? Because it's like, okay, they still have feelings and they'll be patient, but let's see. We come from different worlds. Our perspectives can clash sometimes. Can we work this out? So your person is still like, they again, spiritual connections are usually people that you would normally not go for. Logically, if you always like someone that had blonde hair and blue eyes, and now you're attracting someone that has curly hair and darker complexion. So everything from the way that the person looks to how the person acts. Maybe again, you normally would be with someone that's very superficial and surface like how you are, and now you're connecting to someone that's very spiritual, and it's thinking differently, doing things differently, maybe coming from different cultures. So understand, it's like, and it's a spiritual connection, which is making this person again look at their own shit. And so it's like all straight across the board, you would have to have like this crazy, intense, passionate connection in order to stick around to deal with this, because it's almost like logically it doesn't make sense. I've never wanted to, and it's not even like this relationship is comfortable. It's not. It's drawing out all my shit. Because again, and now I have so many different feelings about this connection because of it. But that's why it's been brought into union. It's a divine union to teach you about yourself, to make you dig deep into, again, what needs to be integrated for your wholeness. And your person feels that. And really, a lot of times, not until we learn the spiritual lesson does that bond break, you know? And I feel that with your person, because they're like, logically, they're almost trying to talk themselves out of it, but they can't help it. They have feelings. Okay, our inner children are crying out right now. We both need to comfort them and become the parents. So it's, again, what did I say? Family karma. Family karma that created childhood wounds that, again, both parties have shadow. Again, and the shadow is, a lot of times we need a miracle. That's what it feels like. There are parts of ourselves that we avoid because we've detached from. And so again, but then what brings it together is only love. Love is the universal panacea. That's the magical antidote, right? That brings love and light. Light is healing and into the situation, because there's so much passion in this relationship, but when it was new, when there was no expectations, when we think that our soulmate twin flame is perfect, and then what happens is you get up close and they hurt you, and then you see their flaws, but when the person first met, there was that instantaneous connection, right? Where you can feel it. You can feel the deep connection. And it makes the person say, I've never met anyone quite like you before. So awakening every part of your person and yourself I'm sure, because again, soulmates do that. Soulmate twin flames do that. But a lot of times, people don't want to deal with it, and they again they walk away. They do things to sabotage the relationship, and when they realize that, it terrifies them because then they're like, I feel like you're leaving me behind. I didn't really want that. I just thought that maybe you were going to reject me because maybe I'm not good enough, when really they sabotaged the relationship because it was so different. But even though you're in separation, you can still feel that spiritual connection, because again, a soulmate twin flame will do that. And it's really, again, to teach you're good enough. Know your worth. Again, that's family karma. Family karma, growing up in survival mode, the childhood wounds of abandonment. Again, and so, but your person isn't good with showing and feeling their emotions. If anything, they're probably acting like everything's fine, but they wonder the whole time whether or not you're happy without them. You know, they never know what to say to the right words, but they definitely still have feelings. Um, and then again, coming from different worlds, but coming from different worlds, it's making your person look at the situation differently, look at who they are differently, look at how they want to live their life differently. If you were the same as them, it wouldn't trigger them to look at their life. And this is really how you can clear your energy. Again, clear your perceptions. Have compassion for yourself. It doesn't need to be so confusing. Unhealed wounds. And so your person is like dealing with it, but they're, again, telling you to be patient. Telling you to be patient because they have unhealed wounds that they don't really know how to deal with. Excuse me. So you can only be so patient. Especially your person has to do the work. So you had to like kind of to like detach from them. And so it's time, it's time for them to do healing, because once you walked away, they were like, oh, well, it didn't take the pain away. No, it didn't. That you were just the catalyst to make them look at what they needed to heal within inside themselves. That's why they don't really understand this connection, because they're like, I have so many different feelings. There's love, there's hate, I'm frustrated, I can't take it. And it's because, again, it's a spiritual connection that your person still has feelings, they still have a connection, but really they know that they need to heal. And so I'm going to leave it there. So that's all for today. Now, if you resonated with that, let me know. Give me a like. And if you want to win a free psychic spiritual reading with me, all you need to do is write the word Master Healer in your comment bar and like the video and subscribe to the channel. That will get you right in to enter into winning a free psychic reading with me. You'll know if you won whether or not I wrote the word winner underneath your comment. If I did, you'll just need to reach out to me at pureenergyhealer70@gmail.com. Again, that's pureenergyhealer70@gmail.com. So we could set up a time that works for the both of us, that I could do a free reading for you. All readings are done live stream so that it's everyone can benefit from it, because the messages are, we've all dealt with family karma. We've all have shadows from the family that we grew up in, and in this particular story, so you can understand how sometimes when we have someone that comes into our life that impacts us so much, but then the relationship never goes anywhere, or it never turns into anything, and then the behaviorisms are still the same on how we normally dealt with life, but the situation calls us to be different. And whether or not we're going to have the courage to be different, this doesn't look like in this story that your person had the courage to change. They were telling you to be patient with them, but they were actually looking at the situation and almost getting overstimulated by it because they had so many different emotions and about the situation. But that's what this divine union was all about. In tonight's story was about bringing out the wounds, bringing out the childhood trauma in order to integrate it, to heal it, to look at yourself different, to see that you are enough, that looking at your situation through a different perception because this soulmate was mirroring your wounds and it was playing, and you both were playing it out the same way in how you grew up, in how you dealt with painful situations, right? Which was avoiding. So, in this particular story, so we can see how, spiritual situations play, not just play out, but how they played out in our own lives, how we can identify and what we need to do to heal. And in this situation, it would have been to not avoid and to be able to express. So your person would have to be able to come and express to you. And what they kept saying is, this is confusing. This is creating a lot of emotions within me. This is so confusing. This is hard. This is bringing up a lot of past. They were getting caught up in that and then saying, well, obviously we're so different from each other. Well, maybe like almost looking for a problem and why not to look at it. But they have this unconditional love for you too. So it's keeping them blocked and keeping that connection. But they weren't doing anything enough about it. And that's why they were saying, be patient, be patient. I know that I'm taking forever and I'm not really doing anything. And I think you're like, peace out. Like, unless you come forward and you express at this point, then I can't really give any more. So it forced you to detach, unfortunately. Okay, so I just wanted to reverberate so that you understood that just because it's a soulmate twin flame relationship, not all the time you're supposed to be with them. Sometimes it's just to create awareness. And that's what this story was about. All right, I'll talk to you all soon. Bye bye.